What would your dream garage look like if you stopped chasing spec sheets and started chasing soul? In a world obsessed with digital complexity and plastic fairings, a rebellion is quietly taking over the streets. For 2026, the world's finest engineers have stopped looking at the wind tunnel and started looking at the archives. They are forging solid metal legends that blend the raw emotion of the 60s with the bulletproof reliability of the future. Today, we're cutting through the marketing fluff to reveal the 13 best retro motorcycles of the year, ranked strictly by price. We're going to show you exactly where to spend your hard-earned cash, from budget-friendly brawlers, $25,000 pieces of art. Number 13, the Royal Enfield Hunter 350. You want classic vintage style for your daily commute, but you absolutely refuse to take out a massive bank loan to pay for a retro badge. Royal Enfield recognized the greed of the European brands and built the ultimate mechanical loophole. The tech specs define pure agricultural simplicity. It utilizes a 349cc air-cooled, fuel-injected single-cylinder engine. It produces 20 horsepower and 20 pound-feet of torque. It transfers power through a 5-speed gearbox. It weighs a highly manageable 399 pounds fully fueled. The sculpted fuel tank holds 3.4 gallons, routinely delivering over 70 miles per gallon. The ergonomics are mathematically engineered to build rider confidence. It features a highly accessible 31.1-inch seat height. The mid-mounted foot pegs and slightly forward handlebars provide a commanding upright street fighter posture that completely eliminates lower back fatigue during heavy stop-and-go traffic. Why is it so reliable? Royal Enfield built this specific J-Series engine to survive the apocalyptic, flooded streets of India. It utilizes an incredibly simple single overhead camshaft and an internal primary balancer shaft. The engine is vastly understressed, meaning the internal bearings and piston rings experience almost zero thermal degradation. You simply change the oil, and this engine will literally outlast the frame. For 2026, Royal Enfield finally added upgraded rear suspension shocks to cure the harsh ride of the previous generation. New prices carry an incredibly aggressive manufacturer's suggested retail price of $4,299. It is the undisputed king of the budget retros. The Hunter is a brilliant budget play. But what happens when the absolute titans at Honda decide they want their entry-level market share back? Number 12 is a mechanical ghost returned from the grave to assassinate Royal Enfield. Number 12, the Honda GB350S. Honda watched Royal Enfield steal their global entry-level market for 5 years. The Japanese executives stopped laughing and engineered a ruthless, air-cooled assassin to take it entirely back. When you think of modern Honda, you think of liquid-cooled, high-revving complexity. But for 2026, Honda shocked the Western market by importing a motorcycle that looks and then feels like it was manufactured in 1975. The Honda GB350S is a masterclass in stripped-down, unadulterated motorcycling. The tech specs prove that horsepower is not everything. It features a 348cc air-cooled single-cylinder engine. It produces 20.7 horsepower and 21 pound-feet of torque. It weighs 390 pounds. The massive classic teardrop fuel tank holds 4 gallons, providing an astronomical touring range. The ergonomics deliver absolute perfection. You sit entirely upright, your spine perfectly straight, with your hands resting naturally on the wide tubular handlebars. The seat foam has been completely re-engineered for 2026 to prevent the numbing saddle soreness that plagued older vintage models. This is a city and back road brawler. Because of the long-stroke engine design and the 5-speed gearbox, it hits an absolute aerodynamic wall at 70 miles per hour. If you attempt to pass a semi-truck on the interstate, you will be mathematically denied. Keep it on the rural back roads. New prices demand an affordable $4,590. It provides Honda perfection for pennies. Honda brings flawless Japanese engineering to the budget class. But what if you demand legendary British racing pedigree for under $6,000? The machine at number 11 completely shatters the global pricing matrix. Are you currently riding a fragile plastic sport bike and dreaming of raw metal? Drop a comment below telling me which of these retros you want in your garage. And if you demand honest, brutal reviews without the dealership marketing fluff, hit that subscribe button right now. Let us cross the Atlantic. Number 11. The Triumph Speed 400. For decades, Triumph restricted their legendary badge to wealthy, elite riders who could afford $15,000 machines. In 2026, they realized that exclusivity was a massive mistake. They built a liquid-cooled weapon for the working class. The motorcycle industry panicked when Triumph announced they were building a sub-500cc motorcycle. Critics claimed it would dilute the premium British brand. Instead, the 2026 Triumph Speed 400 completely rewrite the entry-level rulebook by offering premium fit and finish at a disposable price point. The tech specs obliterate the air-cooled competition. It features a brand new 398cc liquid-cooled single-cylinder engine utilizing dual overhead camshafts. It produces a blistering 39 horsepower and 28 pound-feet of torque. It transfers power through a 6-speed gearbox equipped with a slip-and-assist clutch. It weighs a featherlight 375 pounds. The sculpted tank holds 3.4 gallons. The ergonomics are aggressively comfortable. Unlike the laid-back cruisers, the Speed 400 pulls the rider slightly forward, engaging your core and putting weight over the 43mm inverted front forks. This posture begs you to aggressively attack tight city corners. Triumph partnered with the massive manufacturing titan Bajaj in India to build this machine. They utilize liquid cooling and diamond-like carbon coatings on the internal engine components to dramatically reduce friction. This allows the single-cylinder engine to spin up to 8,000 RPM without literally tearing itself apart. It is a highly stressed, precision-engineered motor disguised as a vintage classic. New prices sit at an unbelievable $5,495. It is the greatest horsepower per dollar bargain in the modern classic segment. Triumph dominates the lightweight street sector, but what happens when you take a legendary twin-cylinder engine and bolt on aggressive, heavy-duty scrambler tires? Number 10 is a dirty, filthy rebel designed to tear up the gravel. Number 10, the Royal Enfield Bear 650. You love the gorgeous, sweeping lines of a 1960s British twin, but you want to aggressively slide the rear tire through deep gravel. Royal Enfield stripped the chrome off their legendary Interceptor and built a gritty, high-bar scrambler. The tech specs define rugged momentum. It utilizes the globally acclaimed 648cc air and oil-cooled parallel twin engine. It produces 47 horsepower, but thanks to the brand new 2-into-1 exhaust system, it gains a massive bump in mid-range torque. It weighs 476 pounds fueled. The classic tank holds 3.6 gallons. The ergonomics are designed for absolute control in the dirt. It features a taller 32.6-inch bench seat, allowing the rider to easily shift their weight backward and forward. The massive braced tracker handlebars give you immense mechanical leverage to wrestle the heavy front wheel out of deep, muddy ruts. This parallel twin engine is a masterpiece of modern engineering hidden behind retro cooling fins. Royal Enfield utilized a forged one-piece crankshaft. This means the bottom end of the engine is massively overbuilt and mathematically capable of handling double the horsepower it actually produces from the factory. It is virtually unkillable. The Bear upgrades the chassis with Showa inverted front forks and longer travel twin rear shocks, finally giving the platform the suspension it desperately needed. New prices demand a highly competitive $6,800. It provides authentic scrambler attitude without the European premium. The Bear wants to play in the mud, but the machine at number 9 is the absolute definition of a pristine, vintage time machine. If you despise liquid cooling radiators, this bike looks like it rolled straight out of 1966. Number 9, the Kawasaki W800. While Triumph quietly added massive radiators to their modern Bonnevilles, Kawasaki remained stubbornly, beautifully old school. The 2026 Kawasaki W800 is a rolling monument to the engineering of the 1960s. It does not pretend to be retro, it is retro. The tech specs are a love letter to internal combustion. It features a 773cc, purely air-cooled parallel twin engine. It produces 51 horsepower and 46 pound-feet of torque. It weighs 496 pounds. The stunning hand-painted fuel tank holds 4 gallons. The ergonomics define casual Sunday cruising. You sit deeply into the heavily padded, spring-loaded tuck-and-roll saddle. The swept-back handlebars place your hands in a perfectly relaxed posture, while the rubber-mounted foot pegs isolate your boots from the engine vibrations. Kawasaki stayed a little too authentic with the braking system. The W800 features a primitive drum brake on the rear wheel. When you apply heavy braking pressure from highway speeds, the rear brake feels exactly like stepping on a wet sponge. You must rely heavily on the single front disc brake to survive sudden traffic stops. New prices command $10,399. You are paying a premium for that bevel gear masterpiece, but it is worth every single penny. Kawasaki masters Japanese nostalgia. But what happens when you cross the ocean to Italy? The V-twin, at number 8, violently mounts its engine sideways and refuses to apologize for its quirks. We are crossing the $10,000 threshold. The engineering is getting incredibly serious. If you appreciate the brutal honesty of these reviews, drop a like on the video. Let us dive into pure Italian muscle. Number 8. The Moto Guzzi V7 Sport. Moto Guzzi has been building motorcycles on the exact same shores of Lake Como in Italy since 1921, and they refuse to follow trends. For 2026, they updated their most iconic platform, releasing the Moto Guzzi V7 Sport. It injects modern performance into an architecture that defies modern logic. The tech specs highlight the weird, wonderful Italian engineering. It utilizes an 853cc air-cooled transverse V-twin engine. This means the massive fin cylinder heads poke directly out of the sides of the motorcycle, right in front of your knees. It produces 67 horsepower and 53 pound-feet of torque. It weighs 480 pounds. The massive sculpted tank holds 5.5 gallons, offering phenomenal touring range. The ergonomics of the sport model differentiate it from the base V7. It features lower, flatter handlebars and slightly rear-set aluminum foot pegs, pulling the rider into a dedicated, wind-cheating forward lean designed for aggressive canyon carving. Why is it so legendary? The engine relies on traditional pushrod valve actuation. It lacks the high revving complexity of overhead camshafts, meaning the low-end torque hits like a sledgehammer the second you release the clutch. Furthermore, it abandons the messy maintenance-heavy drive chain in favor of a fully enclosed, heavy-duty shaft drive system. You never have to clean or lubricate a chain again. New prices sit at $10,690. It provides exotic Italian soul without the horrific maintenance bills of a Ducati. Moto Guzzi delivers quirky Italian aggression, but the absolute undisputed king of British heritage sits at number 7. If you want the gold standard of modern classics, look no further. Number 7. The Triumph Bonneville T100. If you open a dictionary and look up the word motorcycle, there should be a high-resolution photograph of the Triumph Bonneville. It is the absolute, undeniable blueprint from which all other retro bikes are judged. Triumph practically invented the parallel twin market in the 1950s. In 2026, the Triumph Bonneville T100 represents the perfect marriage of pristine heritage aesthetics and hidden, liquid-cooled supercomputer technology. The tech specs define buttery smooth momentum. It features a 900cc, liquid-cooled parallel twin engine. It produces 64 horsepower and 59 pound-feet of torque. It transfers power through a 5-speed gearbox. It weighs 500 pounds fueled. The classic tank holds 3.8 gallons. The ergonomics are the industry benchmark for all-day comfort. The seat is a completely flat, perfectly padded bench, allowing you to slide forward for aggressive riding or backward to stretch your legs on the highway. The handlebars fall perfectly into your hands without requiring any forward lean. The stock rear suspension shocks are notoriously underdamped. If you weigh over 200 pounds, or if you regularly carry a passenger, you will violently bottom out the suspension when hitting large highway bridge expansion joints. Budget for aftermarket rear shocks immediately. New prices demand $11,495. It is the sophisticated gentleman's ride. The Bonneville is elegant and polite, but what if you want to stuff a terrifying, high-revving sport bike engine into a vintage 1970s aesthetic? Number 6 is a retro missile built for speed. Number 6, the Kawasaki Z900 RS Cafe. You desperately miss the terrifying high-horsepower superbikes of the 1970s, but you refuse to ride a vintage death trap with wooden drum brakes that cannot stop. Kawasaki just resurrected the legendary Z1. Kawasaki watched the market flood with slow, low-horsepower cruisers pretending to be retro. They decided to remind the world who won the horsepower wars in the 70s. The 2026 Kawasaki Z900 RS Cafe is a brutal, high-revving street fighter draped in vintage fiberglass. The tech specs read like a modern track weapon. It utilizes a 948cc, liquid-cooled inline-4 engine with dual overhead camshafts. It produces a massive 110 horsepower and 72 pound-feet of torque. It transfers power through a 6-speed gearbox with a slipper clutch. It weighs 471 pounds wet. The beautiful teardrop tank holds 4.5 gallons. The ergonomics perfectly blend track performance with street comfort. The Cafe Edition features a beautiful front bikini fairing that deflects highway wind, blast away from the rider's chest. The handlebars are slightly lower than the standard RS model, and the seat features a sculpted rear hump, locking the rider firmly in place during violent acceleration. Why is it so reliable? Beneath the beautiful faux air-cooling fins on the cylinder block sits the exact same bulletproof, modern inline-4 engine found in the aggressively modern Kawasaki Z900 Street Fighter. Kawasaki engineers spent hundreds of hours specifically tuning the exhaust header pipes and the muffler to mathematically replicate the deep, howling sound of the original 1973 Kawasaki Z1. For 2026, they finally upgraded the electronics, adding much-needed cruise control for long highway stints. New prices for the Cafe Edition sit at $12,899, while the Premium SE version with Öhlins suspension pushes past $14,000. Kawasaki dominates the high-speed retro sport category, but American Iron demands a massive seat at the table. Number 5, the Harley-Davidson Nightster Special. Harley-Davidson executives knew their legendary air-cooled Sportster was a massive, aging dinosaur struggling to pass global emissions. They ruthlessly killed it and built a high-revving, liquid-cooled weapon in its place. Traditional Harley purists screamed in absolute horror when the Evolution engine was discontinued. But the 2026 Harley-Davidson Nightster Special proves that the factory in Milwaukee is finally ready to compete with modern European engineering. It is an American cruiser that can actually handle a corner. The tech specs obliterate the old air-cooled models. It is powered by the Revolution Max 975cc liquid-cooled V-twin engine. It produces a staggering 91 horsepower and 72 pound-feet of torque. It transfers power through a 6-speed gearbox. It weighs an incredibly light 483 pounds fueled. The ergonomics define urban aggression. It features a microscopic 27.8-inch seat height, allowing the shortest riders to confidently plant both boots on the pavement. The mid-mounted foot controls and drag-style handlebars put the rider in a compact, athletic posture, rather than the lazy, stretched-out recliner position of older cruisers. Harley-Davidson made several cheap aesthetic compromises. The traditional gas tank between your knees is entirely fake. It is merely a hollow steel cover housing the airbox. New prices demand $13,499. It is the future of American muscle. Harley finally embraced liquid cooling and handling, but Triumph just dropped a massive suspension package on their biggest, baddest cafe racer. Number 4, corners like a legitimate superbike. We are entering the top-tier premium motorcycles. If you had $15,000 cash in your pocket right now, which brand are you buying? Tell me in the comments. Let us look at the apex predators of the retro world. Number 4, the Triumph Speed Twin 1200 RS. You love the elegant, timeless styling of a vintage British twin, but you aggressively demand the apex carving suspension and radial brakes of a modern track weapon. Triumph delivers absolute, uncompromising precision. When riders outgrew the Bonneville T100, they wanted a machine that looked classic but handled like a modern street fighter. The 2026 Triumph Speed Twin 1200 RS is the absolute pinnacle of that philosophy. It is a gentleman's motorcycle equipped with the fangs of an assassin. The tech specs define brute, overwhelming force. It utilizes the legendary 1,200cc liquid-cooled high-power parallel twin engine. It produces 99 horsepower and 83 pound-feet of torque. It transfers power through a 6-speed gearbox. It weighs 476 pounds wet. The classic tank holds 3.8 gallons. The ergonomics command respect. The RS model features slightly lower handlebars and rear-set aluminum foot pegs compared to the standard Speed Twin. It forces the rider into an aggressive, wind-cheating forward lean, perfectly positioning your body weight over the massive front end to maximize front tire grip during heavy braking. The premium RS badge indicates that Triumph threw their entire high-performance parts catalog at this chassis. It features massive, fully adjustable 43mm Marzocchi inverted front forks and premium, fully adjustable Öhlins piggyback rear shocks. The braking system utilizes Superbike spec Brembo Stylema radial-mounted calipers. Furthermore, for 2026, Triumph finally added an up-and-down quick shifter as standard equipment, allowing you to violently bang through the gears without ever touching the clutch lever. New prices command a heavy $15,995. You are paying heavily for the Gold O-Line suspension, but the performance is undeniable. Triumph dominates the twisty mountain canyons, but if you want to aggressively dominate the long, straight American highway, you need massive displacement. Number 3 is a heavy American powerhouse. Number 3, the Indian Scout Classic. You utterly despise the astronomical $30,000 price tags of massive full-dress touring baggers, but you demand authentic, rumbling American heritage. Indian just completely, ruthlessly redesigned their most legendary nameplate. For nearly a decade, the Indian Scout remained unchanged. It was a good motorcycle, but it was aging poorly. For 2026, Indian Motorcycle executed a massive corporate overhaul, ripping out the old architecture and debuting the brand new Indian Scout Classic. It is a masterclass in blending 1920s aesthetic design with 21st century water-cooled violence. The tech specs reveal the new American standard. Indian engineered the brand new Speed Plus 1,250cc liquid-cooled V-twin engine. It produces a massive 105 horsepower and 82 pound-feet of torque. It transfers power through a 6-speed transmission and a heavy-duty belt drive. It weighs 540 pounds fueled. The beautifully painted tank holds 3.4 gallons. The ergonomics define the quintessential cruiser slouch. The classic model features deeply swept back, wire-spoked wheels, heavily valenced metallic fenders, and a deeply contoured leather bucket seat sitting at a microscopic 25.6 inches off the pavement. The forward-mounted foot controls allow you to completely stretch your legs out on long highway runs. Indian built this motorcycle so incredibly low to the ground to achieve that slammed aesthetic that the cornering ground clearance is absolutely abysmal. The moment you attempt to aggressively lean the motorcycle into a standard highway off-ramp, You will violently scrape the heavy metal foot pegs across the asphalt, sending sparks flying and terrifying novice riders. New prices demand $16,699 for the classic trim. It is American muscle done right. Indian builds gorgeous, low-slung cruisers, but the Germans just arrived to the retro party with a highly sculpted, air-cooled homage to the 1970s. Number 2 is a boxer-powered masterpiece. Number 2, the BMW R12 S. BMW remembered their legendary R90S superbike from the 1970s, the machine that created the sport touring category. They bolted a stunning quarter fairing onto their modern boxer engine to create an absolute visual masterpiece. When BMW launched the R9T series, it was a massive global success. For 2026, they refined the chassis, updated the electronics, and released the stunning BMW R12S. It is a motorcycle designed specifically for the rider who demands clinical German precision, wrapped in a deeply nostalgic, aggressive silhouette. The tech specs define the legendary boxer architecture. It utilizes the 1,170cc air and oil-cooled boxer twin engine. It produces 109 horsepower and 85 pound-feet of torque. It transfers power through a 6-speed gearbox and a maintenance-free shaft drive system. It weighs 489 pounds fueled. The sculpted aluminum tank holds 3.7 gallons. The ergonomics straddle the line between a relaxed roadster and an aggressive cafe racer. The iconic handlebar-mounted bikini fairing perfectly deflects wind over the rider's helmet. The solo seat configuration and the rear aerodynamic tail hump lock the rider into a dedicated, commanding position. Why is it so legendary? The air-cooled BMW Boxer engine is arguably one of the most proven, mechanically bulletproof engine designs in human history. By placing the massive fin cylinders horizontally outward into the airstream, the engine achieves absolute maximum cooling efficiency. The R12 generation updates the platform with a completely new, one-piece tubular steel bridge frame. New prices demand an exotic $21,590. You are paying the ultimate premium for German heritage. BMW delivers clinical German nostalgia, but we have reached the absolute summit. The $25,000 behemoth at number 1 is a rolling block of polished billet aluminum. Number 1, the Harley-Davidson Fatboy Gray Ghost. You do not want to ride a motorcycle. You want to command a rolling 600-pound piece of heavy artillery. You want a machine that looks like it was meticulously milled from a single solid block of heavy metal. Harley-Davidson just resurrected the Terminator. In 1990, Harley-Davidson released the original Fatboy, and it became an absolute global cultural touchstone when Arnold Schwarzenegger wrote it in Terminator 2, Judgment Day. To celebrate the 35th anniversary in 2026, Harley-Davidson released the ultra-limited Icons collection, Fatboy Gray Ghost. It is the absolute heaviest, most imposing, and most expensive retro cruiser on this list. The tech specs define massive, unadulterated American excess. It is powered by the colossal Milwaukee 8 117 cubic inch, that is 1,923 cc air and oil-cooled V-twin engine. It produces 89 horsepower, but the critical metric is the earth-shattering 111 pound-feet of torque. It transfers power through a heavy-duty 6-speed cruise drive transmission. It weighs a crushing 699 pounds, fully fueled. The massive wide tank holds 5 gallons. The ergonomics are designed for absolute physical dominance. You sit deeply in the machine on a plush wide saddle. The massive, swept-back handlebars demand a wide wingspan, and the enormous floorboards allow you to comfortably rest your heavy boots. The engineering focus of the Gray Ghost is entirely based on immense visual weight. It features a massive, solid Lakester disc wheels wrapped in ultra-wide rubber. The front end features incredibly thick, chrome-plated fork covers and a squared-off headlamp nacelle. The entire motorcycle is bathed in a unique, monochromatic silver paint scheme designed to exactly mimic the raw, polished billet look of the original 1990 model. Despite the massive vintage aesthetic, it features fully modern electronic cruise control, ABS, and selectable ride modes. The iconic solid Lakester disc wheels are a massive aerodynamic liability. Because there are no spokes for the wind to pass through, those solid wheels act exactly like boat sails. If you are riding on the interstate and get hit by a heavy, sudden crosswind, the wind will physically push the entire 699-pound motorcycle aggressively across the highway lane. It requires massive physical upper body strength to hold the bike straight in a storm. New prices command a terrifying $25,399. It is the absolute, undisputed king of the modern retro heavyweight class. Click on the next video in order to continue the ride. And if this video helped you discover your next dream retro machine, hit that subscribe button, click the like button, and leave a massive comment below, telling me which of these 13 modern classics you're going to park in your garage this year. Stay prepared, respect the mechanics, keep the rubber side down, and we will catch you in the next countdown.